So I'm about to start the recording, so we can begin. All right. I welcome you all to this digital literacy start today with Microsoft 365. So first of all, my name is David Atama. I'm a Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador. So, training such as this is part of what I do from time to time to educate the masses on digital literacy. So this is going to be an ongoing class every Saturday. We focus on a particular topic. So if we are not able to finish what we have to do, we are going to push it over to the coming Saturday. But this is designed in such a way that each class be just 1 hour. So we don't everyone so that when confirm you hear me clearly. All right. These are some of the objectives of this class. It's not limited to the first is configure optimizing user account control, configuring Windows 10, understanding Windows settings, understanding Windows device security, using devices and printers. These are some of what I'm going to touch in today's class. All right. I believe that we all have computers to use either at home or in our workplaces, or maybe a friend of ours or a family member has a personal computer or a desktop. So when you talk about so when we use systems, be it a computer, be it a mobile phone, so when we access the internet, the particular device we are using is called a client. Then the device we are trying to connect to is called a server. So what you have with you there joining this call is a client. The client versions are normally purchased and installed on personal computers, like your desktop, your laptop, and the rest of them. And we also have something called a Windows Server. That's like it's more like a supercomputer, the one that your client connects to when you want to access information online. So these ones are also purchased and installed on standalone physical servers. These are very big computers, very, very heavy and costly as well. So because we want to focus on Windows 10 today, the latest Windows as you know, is Windows 11. But the focus for today is Windows 10. Some of what we're going to mention in today's class are also found in Windows 11.
Can you hear
Can you hear me?
anyone hear
Hear me?
I can hear you, sir, but we lost you at the point.
Okay, sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's better now.
Yes.
Very clear. Thank you.
Okay. Um, my system is giving me some issues. So I'm transferring to my phone. Let me know when you start seeing my screen, the slide.
Yes.
Yes.
No,
Okay.
digital literacy.
All right. So we were on this slide. So, like I mentioned, today's class is basically we are focusing on Windows 10, and some of what I'm going to mention throughout this class are also obtainable if you are using Windows 11. So, for the purpose of this today's class, Windows 10 is the newest client operating system. So previously we had other Windows operating systems. I think when I started using computers officially, I met the latest then was Windows 7. So from Windows 7 we had Windows 8. From Windows 8 we had Windows 8.1 up to the very latest, which is Windows 11. So as we moved from the previous Windows to the most recent ones, we have new capabilities, we have new features, we have new things that our systems can perform. So someone who has Windows 8.1 or Windows 10 and someone who has Windows 11, the two systems are good, but they won't be able to perform the same um, functions. They won't have the same capabilities. So looking at this table, we have on the left-hand side, we have the client operating systems. Then towards the right, we have the server operating systems together with their release dates. So going down, we have Windows NT 4.0 workstation. This was released around 1995. So from there, we moved up to Windows 7, 2009, up till 2015 when Windows 10 was released. So towards the right, we have the server operating systems. Like I mentioned, servers are supercomputers where, like if you want to access information from a website, so it is this kind of computers, the servers, called servers, that content you are trying to access through the internet are hosted. So the computer you are using, your phone or your laptop or your desktop, is called a client. Then the computer you are trying to get information from through the internet is called a server. So the most recent one is Windows Server 2022, which was released in 2021. So when we talk about user interfaces is basically what you see when you open your computer, what you see when you open an application, whether on your phone or your laptop. So when you boot your computer, probably what you normally see is a sign-in window where you have, maybe if you added your profile picture or some other picture like that, you see your picture and then see a box where you type in your password. That's an example of a user interface. Then when you sign in, the first thing you are going to meet is the Windows desktop. So most times, in the way some people configure their own Windows desktop, sometimes you see just the Windows screen, nothing is there. Some people prefer to hide the apps they have on their Windows desktop. Some prefer to leave them. So when you log in, when you sign into your PC, whatever you see there is the user interface. The same thing happens when you, for instance, when you open your WhatsApp, what you see when you log into your WhatsApp is a user interface. All right, when you talk about computers, you have you can interact with your computer using the graphical user interface. So when you talk about graphical user interface, these are where you click on buttons to perform some tasks. Apart from the graphical user interface, you have the text user interface. This is where you type in text as commands. So you can do this using the command prompt or the Windows PowerShell. So people who do these are um, people who are really deep into coding. So when you interact with your computer using a text user interface, it makes things faster than when you use your graphical user interface. So whatever you are doing using a text user interface, it's pretty much faster than the graphical user interface. So when you talk about Windows 10, we have Windows Home, we have Windows 10 Pro, we have Windows 10 Enterprise, and Windows 10 Edition. So most times when we buy our computers, they are normally pre-installed with some of these Windows, whether you bought it as a second hand or brand new. So if it's second hand, the person you bought it from probably installed Windows 10 Enterprise, which is the most expensive and has most of the features. So it depends on whether you bought it brand new or you bought it from someone else that's fairly used. So whichever way, whichever version you currently have on your system, it depends on what you want to achieve, what you want your system to be doing. So you can check which version your system has installed, the Windows version, whether Windows 10 Home, Windows 10 Pro, Windows 10 Enterprise, or Windows 10 Edition. But most times, what you see around is Windows 10 Pro. So let's talk about processor and memory architecture. We are not going to go very deep into some of these terms. We are just going to stay on the surface. So when you buy a system, your system either has a 32-bit architecture or a 64-bit architecture. So most systems we have now run 64-bit architecture. So it gives you the opportunity to install most apps. You have the opportunity to install whatever you want to install on the system. But when it's 32 bits, you are somehow limited. So a software that is designed to run on a 64-bit architecture cannot be installed on a 32-bit architecture. If eventually you succeed in installing it, a lot of things might go wrong. So some things might not be functioning very well when you try to run the software. The 64-bit computers use more RAM than the 32-bit computer. So like I mentioned, most systems, probably the one you have is 64 bits. So that's the only two computer architectures we have for client computers, client computers in particular. So when you want to view your system information, the thing you are going to do is you can either go through your control panel or your Windows settings. So if you're using a Windows 10 computer, once you press the Windows button on your keyboard, when you press the Windows button on your keyboard, it will display a list. From there, you select settings or you type in control panel. From there, you click on systems and security and then select system. So there you are going to see something that's similar to what you can see on the screen. So you can see under the Windows edition, you can see what you have here is Windows 10 Enterprise and some other information. Then directly below it where you have system, you have the processor type. So this one runs this is Intel Celeron. So these ones are Intel Celeron and Intel Pentium are processors that were built way back. So these ones cannot really perform some functions efficiently. So from there we move to from Pentium, Celeron, you now move into where you have Core i3, Core i5, Core i7, Core i9. So as you move up the ladder, your system can perform tasks very fast. It can not only very fast, it can perform very heavy tasks. So it depends on if you want to. There are games you might want to play on your system and your computer will crash because the processor you have cannot carry the amount of load, the amount of work the game is going to require from your processor. So all these things are very, very important when you are trying to buy a computer. So below it, after processor, you have the installed RAM. So the RAM that this particular system has is 4 gigabytes. The 4 gigabytes is quite low. 4 gigabytes is quite low. On the average, what it's recommended is to get a system that has 8 gig RAM. 8 gig RAM is on the average, though it depends on what you want to do, what you are using your system to do. If you are someone who is into coding experience, 8 gig RAM is not bad. Then system type, you can see that it's 64-bit operating system. Then under pen and touch, if this particular computer is touch screen, you're going to see beside it that it's a touch screen. But for this one, it's written no pen or touch input is available for this display. Then below it, you have the computer name, the domain, and the work group settings. So you have the computer name, you have the full computer name, the computer description. What you can see here might be slightly different from what you can currently see on your own computer. So even though we have Windows 10, there are so many I mentioned that we have Windows 10 Enterprise, Windows 10 Home, Windows 10 Education. Let's assume we have Windows 10 Enterprise, like we can see on this screen. Apart from this Windows 10 Enterprise, we also have something we call build numbers. So build numbers indicates, let's say the first version they released for this Windows 10 Enterprise is called, for instance, they called it Windows 10 Enterprise 1.0. They added a feature and released it and called it Windows 10 Enterprise 1.1. So there's a difference between Windows Enterprise 1.0 and Windows Enterprise 1.1. The only difference is that 0.1 there. So they added a feature or they corrected something, maybe a security issue that they found in the 1.0 edition. So once they add a feature or they correct the security issue they found in the previous versions, they will release a new update. That is why most times it's advisable to update your system each time you receive a notification that a new update is available. So from there, you can move into the system value tab. This is if you want to find out more information about the numbers that are attached to your the kind of system you are using. So let's talk about drivers. In our computers, we have cameras, we have keyboard, we have mouse, we have monitor, display, we have microphone, we have sound. All these things are hardware components, and each of these hardware components have a software part, of which that if these software parts are not available, that particular hardware component will not function well. You're talking about camera, you have a driver for your keyboard, you have a driver for your monitor, you have a driver for every single thing that is hardware on your computer. Every single component, you have a driver for it. So these drivers make it possible for the hardware of your computer to allow those components to function very well. As if you want to snap a picture with your computer's camera, that makes it possible. If you want to type a button using your keyboard, that makes it possible. Any single thing you are trying to do with your computer, if the driver is not available or if it's not updated, that particular feature cannot work. So these are the minimum requirements for any system that will run Windows 10. We have a minimum processor frequency of 1 GB. We have a minimum RAM of 1 gig for 32 bits and 2 gig for 64 bits. You have a hard disk drive of at least 16 gigabytes for a 32-bit operating system or 20 gigabytes for 64-bit operating system. Then you talk about the graphics card and the display. So let's talk about user accounts. When you bought your computer, you have you first of all signed in. So that account you are using is an administrator account. That the very first account that you created when you bought your computer. So apart from this, if you want other people to be using your computer, start accessing the main side, the main part of your computer. Let's assume, just like we have a house, you have the sitting room, you have the bedroom, you have the kitchen, you have the study, and other parts of the building. Maybe you have a visitor and you don't want the visitor to have access to only the sitting room and some of the items there. What you do relating it to the computer now is to create another user. So when you create another user, you deny the user access to the main part of the building, which means the user can access your kitchen, the user cannot access other rooms in the building, the user cannot access your study because you might have important documents you kept in your study. So those ones that you don't want your other users of your computer to have access to, those ones have administrative permission, which means it's only when you log in using the very first account you created. When you log into that account is when you have access to every single thing on your computer. But when you log in through, when you log in as a guest or through another user you created for other people, you won't have access to some other parts. When you want to install an application using another user, it will ask you for the password of the administrator, which means the administrator has to give you the permission. So the user keeps track of user preferences such as the desktop background, screensaver, Windows color, and some other settings. So we have the administrator, the standard user, and guest. Are the type of user accounts you can have on your Windows 10 operating system. So the administrator is someone who has access to every single thing. A standard user is it's another user created that also has a username and password. Then guests mostly don't have you don't need a password for you to log in. You just open the computer and you click on the guest account and you start doing what you want to do. But you won't have access to some other parts of the computer. So this is an example. So for you to create a user account, you go to your settings also, you press your Windows button. You press the Windows button and type settings. Once it pops up, you click on it. When the window opens, you look for system and security. From there, you move to account and information. So from there, you can find the information related to the administrator user, and if you only have the administrator user, the user account control is a technology used to use in Windows and prevent unauthorized changes to systems. So I mentioned earlier, when you are not using an administrator user and you want to install an application, it will request the password of the administrator for you to give you permission to install that particular application. So that's just an example. So this is account control prompt. So here you have a setting whereby if any change you are trying to make on your computer, you will get notified depending on what you set. But by default, it's always set on always notify. So it says notify me only when apps try to make changes to my computer. That's the default. So whatever thing you are trying to do, you'll be notified. A pop-up will display on your window to notify you. So the desktop is what you see as soon as you log into your system after booting. That's the desktop. Then the recycle bin is where files you delete go to first. When you click on an item, when you select an item, maybe an icon, a picture, a video, a document, when you click on it and you right click, or you just click on it and press delete, it will move from there to your recycle bin. The recycle bin is always located on your desktop, as you can see here on the screen. It's always located on your desktop. If you want to delete an item permanently, what you do is you press down your shift button and then press delete while selecting the item you want to delete. So this is mostly recommended when you go to business centers. So you went there to print a document, something very confidential. And most times when you tell them to delete, they will just select the document and then press delete. So if you want it to delete straight out without going to the recycle bin, what you do is you select the document and you press down your control button, you press down your shift button, and then you press delete. That's shift delete. And you go away permanently. The Windows 10 start menu is usually located at the extreme left hand side of your taskbar, as you can see here. So the line below, the line you can see down where you can see ask me anything. That line from the left to the right where you see the time and date, that line is called a taskbar. The Windows Start menu is usually found on the left hand side of the taskbar. So this is a window of the Windows setting. So to get to this place, you press the Windows button or you click on the Windows Start menu and then select settings. So from there, you can make a lot of changes. Within your settings, you can make a lot of changes on your computer. Changes related to internet, changes related to your computer in general, changes related to security, antivirus, a whole lot of things. The Cortana is a feature on Windows 10. It's an AI feature actually. It's similar to Google Assistant. So it's a search feature and personal assistant for Windows 10. It started appearing in Windows 10. So it can help you find a lot of things. You can search for things instead of typing. You activate the Cortana to search it for you by using your voice command. So most times you see it immediately after the where you normally type to search for an item on your computer. It's usually found immediately after that box, like a black circle. When you click on it, it should be activated, and then you can use voice command to search. You can also turn it on by going to your settings. So when you go to your settings, you type in Cortana and you make the possible settings you can for it. The sniping tool is a tool on the Windows PC that you can use for taking screenshots. Maybe you are browsing on a particular website and you see a particular, maybe you see a picture or you see a particular content you want to screenshot and show someone. You can use your sniping tool to do that. So for Windows 11, this sniping tool can also be used for recording your screen. You can record voice coming from your computer and voice going to your computer as both output and input. You can do that. But for Windows 10, it can only take screenshots. The Windows control panel is it's similar to what you can do in with your settings. A lot of what you can do in your settings, you can also do it within your control panel. So it can be accessed by right-clicking on the Start button and then choosing Control Panel. So from there, you have access to a whole lot of settings you can make. You have system and security, network settings, hardware and sound, programs. Programs are softwares that you installed on your computer. You make changes to user accounts, appearance and personalization. You can change your screensaver, your display screen, a whole lot of things. You can also change your date and time from your control panel. As you can see from this other slide, you can see it here. This is where you can change date and time. So for your taskbar, like I mentioned, that's the line running from the Windows Start button up to where you have your clock and your date, where you see the time and date. That last, and the whole of that line is called a taskbar. Some settings you can make there is you can right click on a particular place where you don't have an app on that line. You can right click and then select taskbar settings. So from there you can, if you want to change the color of your taskbar, if you want your taskbar to hide when you remove your mouse pointer from there, you can do that. You can change the position of your taskbar from where it defaults to the top. You can move it from bottom to the top. You can move it from the top to the left. You can move it from left to right. So these are some of the settings you can make on the taskbar. You can try it out sometime and know which one you like. As you can see here, you can see the first one is lock the taskbar. You don't want it to disappear. You want it to be always there. Then the second one is automatically hide the taskbar in desktop mode, which means at some point you won't be seeing your taskbar except if you move your mouse pointer close to that area, it will come up. You can also reduce the size of the icons that appear on your taskbar by selecting use small taskbar settings. You can turn it on from there and then apply some other settings as you wish from here. So the File Explorer, previously called Windows Explorer, you can launch it by pressing your Windows button and E. That's Windows button plus E. It will launch the File Explorer. So this is where you have your file system organized. You have folders for documents, videos, pictures, music, and then some other ones you created yourself. So this is where you can graphically organize content, documents, medias,
any single thing you have on your computer, this is where you can do that under the File Explorer. Under Display Settings, this is where you can change the screen resolution of your computer. If you want what appears on your desktop to be very large, you want it to be a little bit smaller, you want it to be very, very small, this is where you can make the settings. You right click on the desktop on an empty space, you right click somewhere and then choose Display Settings. So there you make changes to resolution, color, font size, and a whole lot of other things. So this is an example of some of the changes you can make under the Display Settings. And under Power Options, this can be found under your control panel. So when you press your Windows Start button, you see the power options or power. Sometimes it's using power or power options. So when you click on it, you mostly see by default you see sleep, shutdown, and restart. There's another option called hibernate. So hibernate means you're not shutting it down, you're not sleeping the computer, you're not restarting it. You are basically turning it off, but your computer will stay the way it is. So the next time you turn it on, you will start from where you stopped. So sometimes you see people who maybe if it's a laptop, they will just close it and then put it inside their bag. So this is a setting you can make under the power options. This is a setting you can add. So the person probably set it that if he or she closes his or her laptop, it will either hibernate or shut down. So most times people select hibernate or shut down, depending on your preference. So you can do this by going to your control panel under the power options. That's where you can select what happens when you press the power button on your computer, when it's plugged in, when it's not plugged in, what happens when you close the lid of your computer is when it's plugged in. A shortcut to lock the screen of your computer. Maybe you're working in an office and a colleague called you or your boss called you to come and check out something, and you're working on a document. So it's advisable to lock your while leaving your system on. The shortcut to do that is to press Windows button and L. So when you do that, you lock your screen. So no one will be able to access it except the person has the password. The Windows key plus L locks your desktop. So you can also set the time. Maybe if your system is idle for a particular moment, or you just want it to sleep or turn off after some minutes, you can also make the changes in your settings or in your control panel. So there's something called accessibility. So this mostly comes up when you talk about people who are either people who are visually impaired, people who can't see. So there is a feature on the Windows that, like the Cortana, for instance, There is also something called a narrator. The narrator means that anything you press on your computer, the narrator will spell it out for you to say what you actually did. Maybe you pressed letter key on your keyboard. The narrator will say that you pressed letter key. So these features usually help people who are visually impaired or people who can't, mostly people who are visually impaired. So these options can be, the settings can be made under the ease of access center, under the control panel. So there you see, as you can see here, there is a start magnifier, start narrator, start on-screen keyboard. There is a feature called on-screen keyboard. That is, if you don't want to, if your keyboard is faulty, you can also use your on-screen keyboard to type. Just that. The only thing is that you can you use your mouse to be pressing the keys on the on-screen keyboard instead of using your physical keyboard. So when we see something like this, shortcut for some applications we have. So when you open your when you go to your desktop computer, you most likely find shortcuts, maybe Chrome, Google Chrome shortcuts, Adobe Acrobat Reader shortcuts. A lot of applications have once you install them, there's always an option for you to create a shortcut on the desktop. So if the shortcut is not created, you can navigate to where the application is. Maybe you want to create a shortcut for, let's say, Microsoft Word, or maybe sniping tool. So you press the Windows Start button, and you click on it, and you type in sniping tool. You right click. It's either if you see open file location, if you see it first, either you see it or you see more options. But the most important thing is you are looking for open file location. So when you get there, you see a shortcut. When you see it, you right click and then select create a shortcut or send. You see an option called send. You click on it and then select send to desktop or create a shortcut. It automatically creates a shortcut and add it to your desktop. So instead of going to search for that particular application, you just simply go to the shortcut icon and double click and it will open. There's something called taskbar. So a taskbar is it's a place where you see every single thing that is running on your computer at the moment. Before you to see it, you go to your taskbar, you right click on an empty space. Once you right click, you see task manager. So when you click on the task manager, a window will open. When the window opens, you're going to see a lot of applications or processes running on your computer. So here we have something called process. It's an instance of a program that is being shared. Let me explain this. Let's assume you opened two documents using Microsoft Word, you have two documents open. When you task manager, see Microsoft Word there. When you see it, you're going to see if it's not expanded, you're going to see in brackets beside the Microsoft Word, you're going to see 2 beside it in brackets. So it means that you have 2 processes. So the first process is the first document that is open. The second process is the second document that is open. So the more you open documents, whether it's Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, anything at all you open on your system, the more you open more of those windows, the process keeps adding up. So most times you want to close an application and the application refuses to close. So the best option to do is the best thing to do here is to go to your task manager, find that application that is open, right click on it and then click on end task and the application will close. That's another way of closing an application. So aside from another shortcut is alternate F4. When you press on the Alt key, ALT, you press it down and then press F4. The application will close. So if it refuses to close, the best option, the next and best option is to go to your task manager and then find the application, right click on it and select end task. So this is the window, how it looks like. It might be different from what you will see on your own system because of the version you are using. All right, let's talk about storage on your computer. So when you buy a computer, you have RAM and you have ROM. The RAM is where temporary files are stored. So for example, when you are using when you are browsing on the internet, so inside the RAM is where some of the information you are requesting for, the things you type, the website you visit, it's within your RAM that some of these things are stored. So depending on which one you, like I said, it's where temporary files are stored. So it's not where you save something like a video or a document or anything else. So files that your computers use while browsing, while you are creating a document, these are where some of those things are stored. So it makes it easier for the computer to launch any application when you want to perform a task using your computer. Then you talk about ROM. This is where let me not say permanent file. This is where you store something like videos, documents, audios, and other types of files you can store on your computer. So most of these things, when you install your Windows operating system on your computer, a part of your ROM is being taken over by your Windows operating system because that's where the files are stored. Every other thing you do, the processes that applications run are now stored on your RAM. So if your computer allows it, you can upgrade your RAM. If your RAM has, if your computer came with some 8 gig RAM, and you confirm that your computer can be upgraded to a higher one, it's possible. You can upgrade from an 8 gig RAM to maybe a 16 gig RAM or 12 gig RAM. So you need someone who is technically inclined to do that for you. So other types of storage you have is internal storage. So under this internal storage, you have the RAM and the ROM. You have external storage. The external storage can be something like external hard disk, flash drive, memory cards. Some computers have slots where you can just plug in your memory card. You have network storage and you have cloud storage. So here we have encryption is when you protect a file or folder from unauthorized access. So when you encrypt a file or a folder, you lock it with a key, which means for you to have access to it, you will need a key to access it. Then compression is when you reduce the size of a file. Let's assume you want to send a folder from your computer to your phone or from a computer to another computer. It can't really work. The only way to do it is to compress it. When you send it out without compressing, it will send out the files one by one, which means when you go to the destination computer, you're going to start adding them to folders by yourself. But when you compress the folder and send it out, the size will be reduced first. Then after sending, you go to the destination computer and extract the compressed files. After the extraction, it will now return to its original size and they will all be inside the folder. So we talked about drivers earlier. So I mentioned that it's something that helps the physical components of your computer to work with the computer to function very well. So if the driver is not available, maybe you want to print a document, you want to take a photo, you want to press a button on your keyboard, it won't work if the driver is not available. So most times these drivers are already there on your computer. So when you plug in a device, maybe a Bluetooth, when you plug in a Bluetooth mouse, your computer operating system will identify the particular device that has been plugged in and find its driver and install it. So these things are done automatically. So even when you update your operating system, when you have a new update, when you update, some of these drivers are also updated automatically. So for the printer, you can connect a printer to your computer either using a cord or wirelessly. When you talk about printing wirelessly, that's where you when you talk about something like a network printer. So this is normally found in business centers or in a large organization. So for example, if you work in an office where you have 3 floors, probably you work on the last floor, that's the 3rd floor. Then someone on the middle floor wants to print a document, or maybe you want to send a document to a manager, the manager of the company, and the manager stays at the last floor. So what the person will do is to send it to the manager's printer if he has a personal printer for his own, or maybe that particular floor has a printer. So we send it to the printer. Like an experience I had one certain time. The document we send to the printer. Then for you to print it, you have to there's something called an access card. So the access card gives you the access to print that particular document you sent. So if another person comes to print a document, it won't allow the person to print because the person doesn't have the access card to that printer. So each person, once you send the document to the printer, without the access card, you can't print it. So this is an example of a network printer. So the printer has an IP address. An IP address is something that's the number that identify every internet-enabled device, from your phone to your laptop. Every single thing that connects to the internet has an IP address. It's similar to a home address. So your home address identify the location of your home, where you live. So with the IP address, you can find out which network the person is using and the particular location of that particular device. You can also, aside from the network printer, you can print documents directly to the printer by connecting the printer's code to your computer, and then you print. We have something called printer spooler. This is an executable file that manages the printing process of a printer. Like we mentioned, a process is a particular task being performed by a particular application. So when you open a particular document, when you open one document, that's one document open is a process. When you open another document, that's another process. The print job is a file or set of files that have been sent out to a printer. That's a print job. Then print queue is a holding area until the printer is finished printing the entire document. So most times when you send the document to the printer, you see an icon closer to where you have your date and time. You have an icon that looks like a printer. From there, you can see the printing progress. When you right click and select printer, when you right click and go there, you can see how many print jobs you have, and then how many are done, how many are yet to be done. So most things we have these days are basically plug and play. The plug and play means that the hard part of it has been removed from our eyes. So you don't need to, just like when you drive a car, you don't need to know what happens when you turn on the ignition of a car. You don't know what happened. Probably you know, but that's operation, what actually happens when you turn on the ignition of a car, has been removed from your eyes. So what concerns you as a car owner or as a driver is you just turn on your ignition, you do every other thing you want to do, and you start driving. You don't know what happens, how the fuel gets converted, how it mixes up with the oil, every other thing that happens underneath, that doesn't concern you. So that's where the plug and play kind of thing comes in. So you only need to you want to you want to send a document from your phone to your computer or from your computer to your phone. You can just connect your phone's charging cord to your computer and you do the transfers you want to make. So there's something called device manager. The device manager is it's where you see all the devices installed on your computer, like printers, if you have external monitor, if you have external keyboard, if you have external mouse, every single device you connected or installed on your computer is where you can find some of them. So for you to go to your device manager, you just you right click on the Windows Start button and select Device Manager. This is also where you can update some of the drivers. So you go to each one and you right click and you select Update Driver, and it will start updating. Though you need to be connected to the internet for you to do the updates. So this is how it looks like. This is how it looks like. You have computer, you have disk drivers, display adapters, floppy disk, keyboard, mouse, monitor, network adapters, and the rest of them. So when you talk about updating your computers, like I mentioned, so when you update a computer, when you update your phone's operating system, it takes care of it takes care of a lot of security issues that we are noticed in the previous version. So when you update to the current release, you automatically take care of whatever issues the previous version had. Also, updating your computer also means that you can have access to, if there is a new feature added to the computer, updating your computer will now give you access to the new feature. You can check your computer updates by going to your settings. You press the Windows key, you type settings, you click on it, you go there, you scroll down and click on Windows Updates. So that's where you can check if there is an update available. If there's none available, your computer will tell you that you are up to date. You can also pause your updates from the same window. So for Windows 11, there are always, like in a month, you can have up to, in a month, you can have up to, you can have more than 5 updates within 1 month for Windows 11. So unlike Windows 10, that's not that, it's not that common for Windows 10, but for Windows 11, the updates are always available. So the more you update your system, the more safer your computer will be. So this is how the window looks like. It might be different from the one you have on your system, the one that you display when you go to the same window. So from the same window, you can also see updates you previously installed and when you installed the last update. There's something called a Windows Insider program. You can find this from the same window you have. You go to check Windows updates. It's stated the Windows Insider program. So when you sign up to participate in this particular program, if you're someone who likes updating your system regularly, you have the opportunity of getting the updates, any released updates earlier than every other person who is not part of the program. So when you join the program, when you click on that particular button and you join the program, like you can see on this screen, Windows Insider Program, you click on it and follow the prompts to join. So when you join, you are going to get updates more often than others. You get it first before others. So that's the advantage. So for Windows 10, you have Windows Defender. So automatically, when you update your system also, like I mentioned, your system is always up to date, and any security issue that was discovered in the previous version will be taken care of. So from there, you can, from the Windows Defender, you can also scan your system for viruses. If there is a virus hidden somewhere, the Windows Defender will fish it out for you and recommend an action for you to take to either remove or quarantine it. All right, so for a short summary, the desktop is the main screen area that you see when you first start the computer and log on to your Windows. So the desktop also includes a recycle bin, which is used to recover files that have been previously deleted. I mentioned that if you want to delete any file permanently, you press down your shift button and then press delete. So it doesn't go to the recycle bin. When you delete it, it deletes automatically without going to the recycle bin. So in Windows 10, many of the Windows configuration is done within the settings. The settings can be accessed by clicking the Start button or the Windows Start button, and then you select Settings. With versions of Windows prior to Windows 10, Control Panel was the primary graphical utility to configure Windows environments and hardware devices. In Windows 10, it can be accessed by right-clicking Start button and choosing Control Panel. File Explorer is also previously known as Windows Explorer. It's where you manage files that are also included in the operating system. All right, so we've come to the end of today's class. If you have questions, you can ask. So this was recorded, like I mentioned, and I'll send out the link on WhatsApp. Are we all on WhatsApp? Let me confirm.
Yes.
I'm there, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. All right. So today's class might be boring to you, probably because you already know some of these things we've talked about. But as we move along, we move into things that are much more recent. So next Saturday, we are going to talk about Windows 11, some of the changes, the new features, and some other things. So if you have a question, you can ask. Is there any question?